Hey guys, welcome back to Project Bodybuilding, long time no see. After I hit the first real goal in any YouTuber's career, 1,000 subs, I decided to take a little break from doing full-length videos to celebrate this achievement and let it sink in. If you guys are one of the first 1,000 subs, I do want to take this opportunity and thank you for your support, especially for this early on in the life of the channel. So a big thank you to you guys and thank you for being a part of my audience. It does mean a lot to me. That's all I'm going to say on that. I wanted to keep it brief, but just know that I do appreciate your guys' support. Anyway, today we will be recapping the 2023 Flex Pro, aka the Italy Pro. This show had a stacked lineup. Sure, we've had bigger names at shows like the Texas Pro before this season with Hunter and Andrew, but this show had a lot more names in total. Even though they may not all be knocking on the door of top 5 at the Olympia, there were still some good competitive names here. So with all these competitors, you know it's time for a recap. In today's video, I'm going to only recap the Open class. There really wasn't anyone of note in Classic, Men's, or the 212 divisions, and with so many guys to talk about in the Open, I'm going to just stick with the Open division for this video. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about, so that's enough intro. If you guys like these types of videos and want to stay up to date on all the main pro shows, go ahead and subscribe because I do these recaps after every single big show. Alright, so I'm mainly going to be talking about the top 5 in this video, but because there were so many good competitors, there were almost 20, I feel that I should mention some of these names that were outside of the top 5. First, I want to mention Andrea Musi. I thought Musi was really going to sneak up here and get very close to the top 5, or maybe be on the low end of the top 5, depending on who peaked well, if he peaked well, certain things like that. He's been to the Olympia before and he's no stranger to competing. He competed 8 times last year. Unfortunately though, his conditioning fell apart and that held him back a lot and he ended up placing 12th. The second guy I want to mention is Tim Budesheim. This is a good placing for him here. He's still climbing the ranks of the IFBB. He's placed higher at pro shows before, but placing high at this one is still probably his best placing. He's got some good muscularity and brought great conditioning to the show and he placed 7th. The last name I want to talk about before I get into the top 5 is Theo Laguerre. This guy had great lines. I really do like his shape. I think the conditioning could have been a little bit better. He definitely could have been a little drier in the back. I think regardless of what he could have looked like with the physique like this, there was an argument for him moving up into 5th place. Like I said, I really like his physique, but I can see both sides of the coin on why he didn't place top 5, why he placed 6th, or maybe why he should have. Like I said, I see both sides. He definitely made some improvements, especially to the back, and in a lineup like this, again, this was a great placing for him. He placed 6th. Now let's break into your top 5, and in that 5th place was Blessing Awodibu. So he was coming off an abysmal showing at the 2023 Chicago Pro earlier this summer. His conditioning was atrocious there, he needed more time to diet. There were other flaws, yes, but the conditioning was the main one. So he took about 5 weeks off in between these two shows, and he came back at this show and he did improve his biggest flaw, conditioning, but it still wasn't enough. I think he could have been sharper in some areas, namely the legs. In fact, the legs were his biggest flaw, and not just for the conditioning, they were just too small. So not only did his legs look smooth, but there was a huge disparity between the size of his upper body and the size of his lower body. Not to mention there was even an imbalance between both of the legs, a very noticeable one. His upper body is just so good. If he was just a hair sharper, I have no problem saying that this would have been the best upper body on that stage. Even with his just decent condition, it's arguably up there right now. He's round, he's full, he's bubbly, he's got huge arms and a very well developed back, but you just can't ignore that he's missing half of his physique. Unfortunately, this show was just a case of Blessing not being able to crack the code again. We know Blessing can look good. We've seen it before. In 2022, at both of his shows before the Olympia, the Indy Pro and New York Pro, he brought great packages there, but he's really regressing in my opinion now. I think the legs have gotten smaller. And if they haven't actually gotten smaller, the upper body has just gotten bigger. And like I said, his upper body's so big, it really hurts his already subpar legs. And on top of that, the conditioning is just all sorts of fucked up now. So why can't Blessing crack the code? It really just comes down to him needing a coach. He used to be working with George Farah, and you can just tell when he dropped George Farah because his placings went down the fucking toilet. He was coached by George at the Indy and New York Pros, and then after those shows, starting with the 2022 Olympia, he was basically on his own. And it's a day and night difference. Now, Blessing did upload this brief video on his Instagram, so I'm just gonna play this video so you can hear it right from the horse's mouth.
What's going on, guys? Blessing here, the boogeyman. I just want to come on here real quick to address that Flex Weekend Pro in Italy. First of all, I just want to say thank you to you guys for all the love and support leading to the show. Obviously, the result was not exactly what we had planned, but I want to give a massive shout out to Cameron, coach, he had me on my all-time best condition in just 7 weeks. But come stage time, I faded and flattened out. After looking back, studying the pictures and the progress, my body seemed tired and wasn't able to get the fullness and roughness back and the hardness since the New York Pro Prep, especially on my legs. I needed a break and a long, productive off season to put some size on. So, because I've been on prep since January 2022 with no real off season. And so that's what we're gonna do. Take some break, get LT, and a long, productive off season to put some size on, especially on these damn legs. And so it's go time. On to the next. And hey, don't come at me with that 5K bet. My 7 Regan, how they handle backstage. So if you want more information, head over to Regan. Alright?
So it sounds like we will not be seeing Blessing again until 2024 after some time off. This is absolutely the correct move. I do not believe he was going to get to the Olympia this year, so it's better to just shut it down and grow as much as possible, as quick as possible. And then if he can just crack that code again, like I said, with some added size, he can easily get to the Olympia again and probably start taking some higher placings. Coming in at 4th place, we had Shou Ming Yan. A lot of you guys have probably never heard of this guy, and really, I hadn't either. This guy was hyped up a little bit on Instagram before the show though, and I thought it wouldn't translate to the stage, but I was wrong. Besides the winner of the show, this guy was probably the 2nd star of the show. Now, in terms of his physique, this guy is massive. Yes, he's a shorter guy. I don't know how tall he is. He appears to be like 5'4", 5'5". He's pretty short, but the level of muscularity is insane. His quads, probably the first thing you notice, are absolutely monstrous. His arms are also crazy, and so is his chest. His weakest points are his back. It's still kind of shallow, but he's a new pro, I believe, so he can definitely beef it up soon. And I'd also like to see his abs more defined and dug out. But overall, he does have a very small waist for this level of muscularity. Another thing he can work on not pertaining to his physique is his posing. He was moving too quickly through the poses and stumbling in a lot of the poses, and the transitions were pretty bad. The front double pose was definitely a 10 out of 10 pose though. I gotta give him credit where it's due. He definitely practiced a lot on that one. Going forward, even though this guy is relatively new, with the amount of size he's carrying, he's definitely something special. Really, if he fixes his overall presentation, maybe has a touch drier conditioning, and fixes up his back, he could qualify for the Olympia as soon as next year. And in 3rd place, we had the fan favorite Roman Fritz. Roman Fritz is literally already qualified for the Olympia, but this guy loves competing. He was just way too bored sitting around, so he decided to jump into another show. And honestly, he's probably glad he did. This was a great placing for Roman. This was a pretty good lineup, and placing 3rd out of these guys is pretty good. Now, going to his physique, his package that he brought here was very, very good. As always, he was shredded. He has really no problem getting in that good condition, but he peaked really well for this show, which has been a little challenging for him in the past. What surprised me the most was how well he held his own against Regan. Regan is a massive guy with a wider structure, but Roman was very close to him in that regard. And that honestly really surprised me. Overall, this entire season, he's been getting a little better and better each time he steps on stage, and I think that was true here. This may have been his best package all season, maybe his best package in general. So, if the trajectory is on his side, we'll be seeing an even better version at this year's Olympia. And coming in at 2nd place was Regan Grimes. The biggest question going in for Regan into the show was, how much improvement has he made? He's been called, quote, an Instagram bodybuilder. Most commentators, including me, have called Regan out for not improving enough for how good he is. We all know he's good enough, but he just doesn't seem to have the drive to go above and beyond for competitive bodybuilding. For social media, sure, but when it comes to making big strides in his physique, most people count him out. So, was he better here? Did he shut us up? Well, he was definitely bigger. And was he better? I think so. He gained 20 pounds, so he's a little more dangerous than he was, but yet again, I'm still going to say if he wants to realize his full potential, we still need to see him bigger. He's just a big guy. I believe he's over 6 foot, and he just needs more stage weight than everyone else. So yes, he was definitely bigger here, but I don't think he was necessarily much better. Better for sure, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't absolutely blown away with how much he improved. improved. So what are the next moves for Regan? Should he stick to Instagram? No. I think that this has proven that if he buckles down and gets his head in the game, he can make good things happen for himself. 20 pounds of stage weight added in a year of offseason at this stage in his career is quite impressive, and I think he can do something similar to this again and continue to get bigger. I would have liked to see him do these long off seasons earlier in his career, but there's still time for him because he's so young, so I think he should still get back to growing. I want to see him top 10 at the Olympia, which he can easily do with his genetics. He just needs the size. Now, as for the Olympia this year, he still has to qualify. The next show he will be doing is the Europa Pro, and that's just right around the corner. That's literally next weekend. And not only will he be doing the Europa Pro, just about everyone at this show will be jumping into that show as well. So we're going into a rematch. Now, will much change? I'm not sure. Some people can peak multiple times pretty easily, like Regan Grimes to be fair, but others can't. The Europa Pro will be one of the last chances for Regan to get qualified, however. I think if he doesn't win the Europa Pro, he'll end up doing the Legion Sports Fest, which is quickly becoming another stacked lineup. And if he doesn't qualify for the Olympia at all this year, I definitely see him doing another show right around the Olympia, like the Romania Pro, which is just a week after. Something around there, so that way he can qualify for 2024 early and get a head start on another good offseason for that 2024 Olympia. And your winner of the 2023 Flex Pro was Nathan Dasha. This was actually a comeback for him. Nathan came back here and won his 10th pro show. He took about 2 full years off, and that really was extended for a multiple of reasons. He tore both of his biceps in that time. He stood up against pandemic regulations and had legal troubles during this time, which is based as fuck, by the way. Overall, he had a lot of time actually off in this offseason. It wasn't just growing and trying to improve, it was actual downtime. And I would say a good amount of us did count Nathan out leading up to this show. And I was one of them. I thought his updates were unimpressive, and I thought he looked a little downsized. But then in true Nathan fashion, especially when he started carving up and filling out, he changed dramatically. Nathan is a genetic freak, and he can just make absolutely drastic changes in a matter of days. And it turns out he still has the ability to change on a dime like that. Now, in terms of his physique, he actually retained just about all of his size. Maybe he was a hair smaller in some areas, but I do not think it was that big of a difference. And he definitely made up for any lost size he may have had with a good peak. He was definitely shredded. Maybe not the most shredded on the stage, but he was definitely close. He had crazy vascularity and separation in every muscle group, top to bottom, front to back. And the fullness was still there too. Overall, this was easily the most complete combo on that stage. He had great poses, great fullness and roundness, but he was also peeled. I think his arms look phenomenal. Most people probably couldn't even tell that he tore his biceps. Now, some people did hate on his bigger obliques. This has kind of been an issue for Nathan because of his long torso. Those obliques kind of stick out from time to time, and I do think this was maybe the worst case of that, but I don't think it was necessarily that detracting from his entire physique. So yes, they were a little bigger at the show, but I think it was a combo of a couple of things. One, he was fuller everywhere, and the obliques are going to get lumped in there, and then two, he was maybe missing a little bit of size everywhere, like I said earlier, and that makes his waist look a little bit thicker. Either way, I don't think it was that big of an issue. It really only mattered in the front double and the abs and thighs, and every other area in the front double was phenomenal, and that made a great pose for him. And for the abs and thighs, I don't think he was that stellar to begin with anyway, so really it's just a minor issue. Now, there is some controversy surrounding Nathan's win. Personally, I do not think it was that controversial. I think Nathan won fair and square, and the scorecard does reflect that. Nathan won with a perfect score, and a lot of people that were in person there, including the official photographer, thought that Nathan won very easily. I think both guys had their flaws, of course, but I do believe Nathan had the least amount and looked the most developed. But let's do a rapid fire pose by pose to take a look very briefly. Starting with the front double, I think Nathan has the cleanest pose here. Even though Nathan is a bigger man, I think Nathan has the better structure here, surprisingly. His X-frame is better than Regan's, and so are his arms, despite him tearing both of his biceps. Credit where it's due, like I said earlier, if I had not known that he had tore his biceps, I don't think I would have noticed here. And Regan's biceps are still very flat. So really, Nathan wins the entire pose solidly, in my opinion. He's drawing a better and more drastic silhouette and has the better arms. For the front lat spread, I think this is an even better pose from Nathan and Regan alike, but Nathan still takes it. Both gentlemen draw great outlines and have good lat taper. I thought Nathan's high lats would hold him back here, but not that much. In fact, I think he has more size and overall taper on his lats than Regan. Overall, I think he has the better outline too because his waist is smaller. The lower body is also Nathan's due to way more detail and separation. And the overall thickness and muscularity of the physique, including the chest and shoulder thickness, things of that nature, that's going to Nathan. And keep that in mind. Nathan is the more developed bodybuilder here. He is just carrying more muscle than Regan. And that's definitely going to be apparent as we move on. Especially in this next pose, the side chest. And I think Nathan Nathan wins this pose easily. He's so round and full everywhere in his physique, but he still has that wicked vascularity and dryness going on. Regan's pecs are just too flat compared to Nathan's, and Nathan's delt and arm is also popping a lot more. The side leg is also Nathan's. Regan's side leg is huge, don't get me wrong, but Nathan still has a lot of size too, but he has way more separation here. So he takes this area too, in my opinion, and sweeps all of the main areas of the pose, winning this one decisively. Turning these guys around, this is where Regan begins to make up some ground. This is actually a clear win for Regan, starting with the back double. His back has always been very good. His conditioning from the rear is also top notch. It's probably better here than anywhere else on his physique. With that conditioning and more size, he is soundly beating Nathan through the lower body. His hamstrings and adductors are just too developed for Nathan's. Nathan has a little bit of a gap going on between his legs. Then for the back, I think it's clear that Regan wins here too. He's peeled in the back and much wider than Nathan. And honestly, he's pretty thick and dense too. Nathan's highlight insertions aren't helping him here. His back is a little shallow, and the hams and adductors, like I said, just don't have anything on Regan's. So Regan wins his first pose here. The back lat is definitely a bit closer, and full disclaimer, I personally prefer Nathan all day, but I'm not going to give it to him because I think Regan is objectively winning. Being the bigger guy has its perks, and one of them is just being wider in the shoulders and the lats, and that's what's carrying Regan here. Regan also again beats Nathan in the lower body for the same reasons in the back double, and really the only thing Nathan is beating Regan in is the overall thickness of the back. For whatever reason, Nathan's back looks a little bit thicker here. He has more defined erectors, more pronounced traps, and Nathan does have a good level of width, but it's just not Regan level of width. Nathan really is doing a good job here posing to hide his high lat insertions though. Overall, we have to weight the width more here, and he did win the lower body, so I'm going to give Regan the second back pose. Now for the second side shot, the side try. This is basically Nathan for all the same reasons. He's too round, too bubbly, and overall just too thick from the side for Regan to win. Again, the side leg detail is icing on the cake here, and he is just more developed top to bottom than Regan, and that's really being showcased here from the side. In the next pose, the abs and thighs, I think Regan takes a pretty clear win here, but I don't think Nathan is necessarily bad. Regan has the thicker abs and deeper separation, and like I mentioned earlier, Nathan's obliques are throwing off his outline in this pose just a little bit. Regan doesn't have that problem, and he's much more streamlined and has a better outline because he doesn't have those big obliques. Regan is also evening up the lower body portion in the shot. I thought Nathan had better quads in the front double and front lat, but here I think they're about equal until you consider that Regan's are just bigger in general, so I think he wins both areas of the pose. But to retort, Nathan claps back with an easy win in the most muscular. I like Regan's pose, I think it fits him very well, but this is the most muscular pose, meaning who is the most muscular bodybuilder, and that's Nathan. He's more developed and has more mass pound for pound. His roundness makes his superior muscularity stand out even more with a whole 3D look to his physique. Regan can't even make up the ground with detail because Nathan wins that category too. So for the overall verdict, Nathan won 5 poses out of 8 based on these photos, and I also think the poses Nathan won were won by a bigger margin than Regan won his by. Another thing I want to mention was Regan's issues on stage. You obviously can't tell this through photos, but Regan was sweating a lot by the end of this, and his tan was running a little bit. He also took forever to hit the shot, while Nathan quickly got into the pose and never faded, and that surely made a little bit of difference. Overall, Nathan was the better bodybuilder this day. Is Regan's physique better? I think you can argue that definitely. I wouldn't agree. I personally would understand where you're coming from if you do believe that, but Nathan was the better bodybuilder. He carried more muscle and had a more mature and developed physique, and his presentation was way better than Regan's. They will rematch this weekend though at the Europa Pro, so Regan can get his revenge. Either way, no matter who wins Europa, Nathan will be back on the Olympia stage, and it will sure be nice to have him back. Well, there you have it. That was my recap of the 2023 Flex Pro weekend. This was a hell of a lineup compared to what we're used to, and we'll be getting just about the same one this weekend at the Europa Pro. I'd certainly expect this from now on until the Olympia. We are less than 8 weeks out from the Olympia, so everyone is scrambling to qualify if they haven't done so. But back to the Flex Pro weekend, I think it was a great show. Sure, the lighting was a little dog shit, actually a lot dog shit, but it's really the competitors that make up a good show. Congrats to everyone who competed here, and a big congratulations to Nathan Dasha on his great comeback and his 10th pro win. That's going to do it for me today. If you guys like to stay up to date on the world of bodybuilding, consider subscribing. That way you won't miss any of these recaps and other news. With that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, thank you for your support, and I'll see you all in the next video.